Is it ever okay to lie? There's many admonitions and commands not to lie in the Bible, Old Testament and New. However, if we look at some of the stories and see some of the people who did lie and God's response to those people, it's questionable. We're going to start with the story of two Hebrew midwives. This is from Exodus 1. These two women, Shiphrah and Puah, probably not pronouncing their names correctly, they were commanded by Pharaoh to take the lives of the Hebrew male babies. They didn't, and when the king asked them about it, they flat out lied to him. They said, well, Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, and they're just more vigorous, and we can't get there in time. So they disobeyed their governing authority, and they flat out lied to him. If we read God's response to those women, it says God was good to them, and he blessed them, and he gave them households. Seems like God had some other higher value, in other words, saving the lives of a whole bunch of people. Love for those kids. It seems that God valued that over being honest in that circumstance. Fast forward to Joshua 6 and 7, we have the story of Rahab, who harbored Joshua's spies, God's people, and when her city officials came to question her about them, she flat out lied to them. She flat out lied to her governing officials. And what was God's response to her? She's a hero of the faith, listed in Hebrews 11. Let's fast forward to 2 Kings 5. We have the story of Gehazi. He was Elisha's servant in the story of Naaman, when Naaman was healed by God with Elisha's help. And Naaman wanted to reward Elisha, but he wasn't going to have any of the reward. But Gehazi was like, I'll have some of the reward. So he followed Naaman and lied to Naaman, told him, oh yeah, a couple of guys came from the hill country of Ephraim and we need some stuff. And so Naaman's like, okay, here, you have some money and some clothes. And Gehazi took it to his own place. And then he also lied to Elisha about it. God was not happy with him. He got some very unpleasant consequences. Fast forward to Acts 5, Ananias and Sapphira. These people were part of the early church, and they sold a piece of land and brought the money into the disciples to share with everybody, but they lied about it. They didn't bring the whole price, and they said, oh, this is the whole price, but it wasn't, or something like that. And God had some very unpleasant consequences for them as well. So, we know in general that God doesn't want us to lie, but we have 4 examples wherein people did lie, but God responded very differently to each of those people. Why? It's because God has a value system. All of his commands are in that value system. Some are lower on the command. What do they call that? Spectrum. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word. Some are at the top of the command spectrum. In Deuteronomy, we see God giving commands to the Israelites to not eat certain animals. Those are very low. Those don't really carry much weight. So those are very low on God's command system. Up at the very top is love. God's number 1 commandment for everybody through all of time and eternity, Old Testament and New, is to love. Live in love with himself, and then to live in love with others, and to live in love with ourselves. So we have all these lower laws down here, and at the very top we have love. The command, to return to the point, should we ever lie, the command to not lie is somewhere down here, and the command of love is up here. In the 2 instances where God rewarded the people after they lied. Rahab and the two Hebrew midwives, they lied for love. They lied to serve this purpose. They were protecting the lives. They were living in love with God and God's people. They were serving this law, the law of love. So they technically bypassed this lower law, or technically broke it, however you want to phrase it, to serve this law, the law of love, and God rewarded them for doing so. Okay? The other two instances, Gehazi and Ananias and Sapphira, why did they lie? They lied out of greed for themselves, to benefit themselves. And God, they were not serving the law of love. They were serving all that stuff on the other side that we know we're not supposed to do. Greed and selfishness. So God was not happy with them. So to answer the question, is it ever okay to lie? Yes, it is. When? When is it okay to lie? When love requires it. And never any other reason. It's the only reason. When love for God or for somebody else requires that you lie, and it's legit, you're not just making it up in your own mind. None of us, I speak to all of us, I'm not just making it up in my own mind to serve my own purposes. When it's legitimate, God's the judge, not us. Then he says, yeah, it's okay. And I appreciate it because you acted in true love. It's right there in the Bible. I am not making this up. But if people lie for their own greed and selfishness to serve their own, to make themselves rich, God's like, nah, I don't endorse that. Why? Because they're not serving the highest law, the law of love. Thank you and have a fabulous day.